The recent sweltering summer days have seen protests in South Iran, where the heat is now unbearable and the water undrinkable. The crunch time came on the first day of June when the protests turned violent in the city of Khorramshahr, about 650 kilometers southwest of Tehran. The residents complain of salty, muddy water coming out of their taps amid a year-long drought. According to the Food and Agriculture Organization, Iran has experienced its most prolonged, extensive and severe drought in over 30 years. Peace returned to the city soon after, yet the protests were blown out of all proportion by the Western media as something more than a simple complaint about water. Politicizing such events has been the usual approach taken by these media outlets. While water crises and water protests are common in many places around the world, including the US, they are not being described as a revolt. But when it comes to Iran, anything can be interpreted differently. Against such a backdrop, Iranian Interior Minister Abdolreza Rahmani Fazli said, "You observe how they are fueling such incidents in the foreign media and in cyberspace these days."
Of course, Iran is under their microscope. Anything that happens in Iran, they will blow it out of proportion. But your example of the water situation in Flint, Michigan, the whole entire state of Michigan, the city of Detroit is in crisis, is in a state of crisis. If you call for any public services such as police department, police presence in your area, if there's an unrest, or even the fire department, you have a delay of 5 to 6 hours. So, and there was a lot of talk about this. That the citizens of the city of Flint were actually wanted to appeal directly to United Nations in regards to their water issue. That actually having a clean water that's drinkable is part of their human rights and not just a service that the government provides.
For years, Iran has been the island of stability, engulfed by political upheavals sweeping across the region. While this is good news for supporters of peace in the Middle East, it has dismayed those wishing for what they call regime change in Iran. Hence, the slightest discontent in the country deludes them into believing that Iran is on the verge of collapse. For example, Trump's senior advisor John Bolton views the recent demonstrations as an indication of Iran's weakness.
So any country, any entity, any organization, any government that wants to stand up to the West and actually pursue its own independent domestic and foreign policy should be aware that the West is going to go after them, especially Washington, especially in administration like President Trump's. They shouldn't be sitting back inactive. They shouldn't be sitting back as inactive and silent observers, because this is a clear and present danger to national sovereignty of many nations.
In recent weeks, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has released a number of videos addressing the Iranian people while hoping for the collapse of the Iranian government. Since the inception of the Islamic Republic, the country's foes have been under such delusion.